Well, look, the latest is I think we may have a solution by the time the window closes on Monday. Look, Chelsea have got a problem. Raheem Sterling has a problem as well. He's got 18 months left on his contract. He's one of the highest paid players at the club, earns more than £300,000 a week. He is not playing. He's been frozen out. So Chelsea need to find a solution, and he needs a solution as well. It's our understanding that the club are in talks with his representatives, and there's now an expectation that something will be sorted out by Monday. And in all likelihood, he will not be a Chelsea player after the window closes. Now, we can't say 100% that is going to happen because he still has 18 months left on his contract. So he's well within his rights to say, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not going to sign any sort of agreement to tear up my contract. I'm going to stay here until the summer of 2027. But talks are underway, and there's an expectation that a solution may well be found.
You say a solution, so what is the solution?
Well, look, it could be that he gets a permanent move. I'm not sure that's going to happen with only days left of the window. I think he's made it clear behind closed doors that he's not interested in another loan move. The other possibility is that some kind of compromise agreement could be reached between the player and the club. For instance, if he's earning £300,000 a week and he's got 18 months left on his contract, that means that Chelsea would have to pay him £27 million over the next 18 months. So who knows? Chelsea may, for instance, this is just hypotheticals. Chelsea could say to him, why don't we pay up £20 million of your contract and you become a free agent and you can go and sign a contract for someone else. Potentially, that could be something that is being discussed as well.
It's really sad, isn't it? It's really sad. We're talking about huge amounts of money, but this is terrible for Chelsea and it's terrible for Raheem Sterling. You've got, for me, a generational talent here. A man who, 2 or 3 years ago, was England's most important player, really, alongside Harry Kane. England built their squad around him. Gareth Southgate did at the World Cup in Qatar. You and I were both there. And then he had that burglary at home and went and had to fly back to be with his family. And his England career never recovered from that under Gareth Southgate. And it felt like his club career hasn't. I mean, I was checking out the stats. The last Premier League game he played was for Arsenal in May 2025, May of last year. For a player of his ability, who's still only 30 years old, that's a travesty. And look, there's big money at stake here, isn't there? There's huge amounts of money, which is what Carve's just outlined there. But if you look beyond the money, the fact that a player of his ability is not playing football, has never felt comfortable at Chelsea, I don't think, to play football is a travesty. And I think everybody who likes football would like to see him back comfortable somewhere, playing the way he is capable of playing, because if his career carries on dwindling like this, it will be one of the biggest wastes of talent that we've seen in English football in recent years.
You mentioned that Qatar World Cup. Do you feel that might have been a big turning point for him and his career?
Well, it feels like it, but you can't really understand why. I mean, look, it definitely affected his England prospects. I think the truth is that there was a disagreement between Raheem and between Gareth Southgate at the time about what happened there. A lot of confusion. Raheem felt that his family had been held up by gunpoint at home, and of course when the England manager heard that, he said, go home, check on your family. And then the police came out with these strange statements and said, well, there was no evidence of firearms and the family weren't at home at the time, and it led to a significant breakdown in relations between Sterling and the England manager. But that aside, it doesn't really explain what's happened with his club career and why it's just absolutely collapsed. And as I say, I just think it's incredibly sad. I think if Chelsea and him can come to some agreement by Monday and he can start afresh, I don't think there'll be a lack of clubs that are prepared to take him, albeit probably nowhere near £300 million.
I think we've seen this as well. We've seen this as well. When you're a player who is earning big money, you have really got to be world class and untouchable for the club to carry on paying you that money and to keep you. For instance, we saw what happened at Marcus Rashford at Manchester United, Jadon Sancho at Manchester United as well. When you're earning a lot of money, if new owners come into the club, they look at the finances and they think, we can't be paying this guy this much. We need to move him out. And I feel that is what has happened with Raheem Sterling through no fault of his own. It's not his fault that the people who were running Chelsea decided to give him this incredible contract, because at the time they signed him, he was a world-class player, and they signed him from Manchester City.
That was the going rate for a player of his ability. Simple as that. It's not now because he's fallen off a cliff in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, let's see what happens with him. I'm sure we'll be talking about him in the final 6 days. That's a potential departure, Carve, from Chelsea. Let's look at potential arrivals, and they're in the market, it looks like, for a central defender. One man who we have been talking about in the last couple of weeks, Jeremy Jacquet. Is there a development on him?
Well, the development is that he wants to move to Chelsea. And I think that's potentially very significant because he's so highly rated that, some of the biggest clubs in Europe want to sign him, especially in the summer. But I think he's made it clear that his preference is to move to Chelsea. Chelsea remain in talks with Rennes. I think Rennes would like to keep him until at least the summer. Chelsea would prefer to have him straight away. There's a potential there for a deal to be done now for him to join straight away, or for a deal to be done now for him to join in the summer. But I've just got a feeling if a player has said, I want that club, 9 times out of 10, he ends up getting what he wants.
Yeah, let's see what happens with that. Let's talk about some blockbuster headlines over the past couple of days with Chelsea's most high-profile player, you'd have to say, in Cole Palmer. There's lots of talk about him potentially leaving. Manchester United, his boyhood club. Could he end up there at some point? What's the perspective from the Manchester United side and maybe the Chelsea side on that as well?
I've been talking about this. There's an awful lot of noise around this. The fact of the matter is he has a long-term contract, 7.5 years left on his Chelsea contract. He's on a very good deal there in terms of his weekly wage. I can't see any way that Chelsea would let him go. But more to the point, Manchester United couldn't afford him right now. And they're not looking for any attacking options. I'd be surprised if Manchester United did anything in terms of incomings in this transfer window. They've got a new strategy. They plan to do it transfer window by transfer window. The last window in the summer was when they went big. They spent over £280 million on attacking players. The focus next summer will be on central midfield players, defensive central midfield players. Well, that's not Cole Palmer. I can't see how he would necessarily fit into the United squad right now. He is not a priority for them. It's pretty clear that Cole Palmer's a Manchester United supporter. It's pretty clear that his family are. I think there's some suggestion, and from the people I've been speaking to, some truth in the fact that he's maybe not settled as quickly as he would have liked in the southeast, and that he's still got a lot of family up in the northwest. So maybe there's a pull to draw him back there. But there's a huge difference between that and that player leaving Chelsea to go to Manchester United. Chelsea wouldn't let him go. Manchester United don't want him right now, so it's almost irrelevant what Cole Palmer and his family might want at the moment. And maybe something in the future. Maybe Cole Palmer would like to go to Old Trafford in the future. Maybe United might go for him in the future, but I don't see anything imminent there. United are focused on other areas of the squad, plain and simple.
They're not going to let him go, are they?
Look, I think behind closed doors, privately, Chelsea will be laughing off these reports. Because Cole Palmer is 22, he was player of the tournament at the Club World Cup. He's had injury problems so far this season, which have prevented him from being at his best. But his contract at Chelsea means that he will be a Chelsea player until he's 30, and he's 22 at the moment. Now, can I see him playing for Manchester United one day? Yes, because he's a United fan. And I think if you were one of his close friends and you were talking to him, he would probably say to you, look, one day I would like to play for Manchester United. But just because he grew up a United fan doesn't mean he's going to end up playing for them. I mean, he was a United fan, but he ended up at the Manchester City Academy. Yeah. And he was working under Jason Wilcox, I think, who was the academy director, who's now the director of football at Manchester United. And there are very good relations between Chelsea and Manchester United. So if United were really interested in signing him, all they would have to do is pick up a phone and call Chelsea. And I'm sure that would never happen. And if it did, Chelsea would just say, are you having a laugh? This is not going to happen. I think his profile in the game at the moment, how much would it cost to sign him? 150, 200 million pounds. United don't have that kind of money, and at the moment, they don't need him.
Also, as well, I just wonder what Chelsea fans make of this. If there was to be any revelation of truth in this, what would Chelsea fans say about one of their star player, a player they absolutely worship, potentially thinking and saying, I want to go to Manchester United. You know, where, with all due respect, United are not at the same level that Chelsea are at the moment. So, look, I think it's tittle-tattle. I think there's maybe some words being said behind the scenes about what may happen in the future. There's family loyalties here. There's words coming out from the family. I don't see any substance in it from Chelsea's perspective or from Manchester United's perspective.
I think Chelsea just view him as being untouchable.
Talking about untouchable, let's go straight to Naples because Chelsea are facing Napoli, and we're going to be talking about Cole Palmer, and here he is, the untouchable Gary Cottrell. Big Champions League game, Gary. We've just been talking about him, and he could be available for them, couldn't he?
Yeah, the thigh bone's connected to the groin bone's connected to the toe bone, and of course the song doesn't go like that, does it? And it's complete nonsense because I don't think there is a bone in the groin, but that kind of sums up Cole Palmer's injury-interrupted season. First of all, it was the groin, which kept him out for quite a while. Then, just as he was coming back, he stubbed his toe at home in some kind of domestic accident, and then he was brought back gradually, managing his minutes because he's that important to the club. Played the full 90 minutes for the first time in a long time against Brentford, a couple of Premier League games ago, and then got this latest thigh niggle, which kept him out of Paphos in the Champions League and Crystal Palace at the weekend. But he is back in training, back in the Chelsea training ground earlier today. Will be on the flight out here as we speak, and he is available for selection again for the game against Napoli tomorrow night. So he's happy when he's playing. You've discussed there his future and the fact that it's very unlikely he's going to be leaving Chelsea anytime soon. We know the mood music is from the club, from him, that he's happy at the club. The fans love him, the ownership love him. Liam Rossini, I know for a fact, loves him, and Cole Palmer loves being at the club, particularly when he's fit and playing. And he hasn't had enough of that, has he, this season? So once he's back to full match fitness and coming in with the assists and the goals again, I'm sure that he'll be settling into having the rest of the season as a top season, beginning, hopefully, in the Champions League against Napoli tomorrow night.
Yeah, talking of Napoli, you were with them earlier on today, weren't you, Gary? And it's a match-up, isn't it? Liam Rossini will be coming up against a former Chelsea head coach in Antonio Conte. How's Conte feeling about facing his former club?
Well, really, both ends of the scale, aren't they, in terms of experience, in terms of big games, in terms of big names, in terms of things won. Antonio Conte, a prestige blue-chip elite manager. Liam Rossini is still at the very beginning of his head coach career. And Antonio Conte, obviously the last time Chelsea won the Premier League 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Conte left 8 years ago. There's been 8 managers at Chelsea since then. And he's been talking about those days. And he's been talking about the modern day Chelsea, and some words there of he believes things are going in the right direction for the new Chelsea under the new ownership. He called them a fantastic club with a great vision and a winning mentality, and he believes that the young squad will continue to improve. But of course, there's a bit of a dig there as well, as we're in a transfer hour. He talked about it being a young squad, but he spoke about the expensiveness of many members of that squad. He said we'd all love to buy young players, but most of us, particularly here in Italy, can't afford to spend that much money on young players. So praise, but a little bit of a caveat to that as well. He needs to win here tomorrow night to really have any chance of being in the competition at all going forward. They're just in the elimination area at the moment. They've got a great home record in the Champions League, 1-2 and drawn the other. Their away form has put them in this position, so they've got plenty to play for. Have Napoli tomorrow night, and of course Chelsea the same. They need those 3 points really just to try and guarantee they don't have any playoff games in a busy February.
Gary, untouchable Cottrell, thanks for now.